There is a secret hidden inside Psalm 91 that almost no one has ever truly seen. A spiritual code, a frequency, a dimension of consciousness that cannot be activated by simply repeating the words or reading it before going to sleep. This code only awakens when you understand what it truly means to dwell in the shelter of the Most High. Whoever understands this changes their entire life. Whoever doesn't ends up repeating verses that never become reality. Today, I'm going to show you the truth that most people completely overlook, because Psalm 91 is not a poem, not a mantra, and not a religious routine. Psalm 91 is a spiritual frequency, a state of mind, a vibration so elevated that it breaks fear, dismantles anxiety, and turns your inner world into an unbreakable sanctuary. Napoleon Hill explained the same principle in a different language. The mind that lives in certainty becomes invincible. The mind that lives in fear destroys itself. That is exactly what Psalm 91 teaches, but encoded in spiritual symbolism. When it speaks of dwelling in the shelter of the Most High, it's not talking about a physical place. It's talking about a level of consciousness, a mind that rests in God, not in worry, a consciousness that chooses faith, not doubt, a vibration rooted in trust, not chaos. And when you step into that frequency, things begin to happen in your life that cannot be explained by human logic. Synchronicities, protection, clear intuition, right decisions, unexpected openings, paths illuminated at the exact moment you need them. This is why Psalm 91 has transformed millions of lives, but only in those who understand it. Today, we're going to decode it, line by line, code by code, frequency by frequency. Get ready, because once you understand this secret, nothing will ever touch your life in the same way again. Psalm 91 was written in a time when life was fragile, uncertain, full of invisible dangers. In that era, nighttime represented fear, illness, attacks, uncertainty, spiritual darkness. But in the middle of that chaos, a revelation emerged. True protection is not external. It is internal. Scholars believe that this psalm was written by Moses, the man who spoke with God face to face and understood a truth that thousands of years later, Napoleon Hill would teach in another form. Your dominant state of mind creates your external reality. Moses called it dwelling in the shelter of the Most High. Napoleon Hill called it living in the frequency of certainty. Today, you and I call it spiritual alignment plus mental vibration plus active faith. The historical context is essential. While people searched for protection in walls, weapons, rituals, or superstition, God revealed through this psalm that true protection begins inside, in the mind and in the spirit. That's why the psalm starts with the phrase, "He who dwells." It does not say, "He who visits," "He who passes through occasionally," "He who prays from time to time." It says, dwell, live there, think from there, breathe there, decide from there. It describes a continuous mental state, not an occasional religious act. And thousands of years later, Napoleon Hill repeated the same spiritual law in scientific language. Your dominant, sustained thoughts become your physical experience. That is exactly what Psalm 91 teaches, but encoded as a spiritual map. When your mind settles into certainty, not fear, into faith, not anxiety, into trust, not doubt, your reality begins to align with that elevated frequency. Psalm 91 is not magic. Psalm 91 is law, a spiritual law, a mental law, a universal law. And once you understand this, you realize something extraordinary. Psalm 91 is not describing fear. It is describing power, the power that emerges when your mind aligns with God and enters the frequency of divine protection. And now, we enter the heart of the psalm. Each verse is a symbol, a law, a vibration, a spiritual principle that transforms your life from inside out. And we're not going to simply recite it. We're going to awaken it. This is the most misunderstood verse in the entire psalm, because to dwell does not mean to say, I believe in God. It does not mean listening to a sermon, or praying when things get difficult, or remembering God only at night. To dwell means to live in that presence, to establish your mind there, to return there. Every time fear pulls at you, every time anxiety rises, every time confusion tries to take control, to dwell is to choose that frequency over and over again until it becomes your natural state. And the Most High is not a place somewhere in the sky. It is the highest mental frequency: faith, certainty, stillness, clarity, alignment with the divine. To dwell in the shelter of the Most High means setting your mind above the noise, above fear, above the external world, and entering a spiritual realm where nothing external can touch you, because nothing internal can break you. Shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. In spiritual language, shadow does not mean darkness. Shadow means covering, protection, the quiet certainty that you are not walking alone. Napoleon Hill said it this way: when your mind rests on an idea greater than your fears, you become invincible. That is exactly what it means to abide under the shadow of the Almighty. It means leaning on something greater than your circumstances, walking with the unshakable conviction that the light that surrounds you is stronger than anything that could ever come against you. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Here we see the power of declaration. It is not enough to feel faith. Faith must be spoken, activated, released through your voice. Napoleon Hill called it autosuggestion. The Bible calls it confession. Modern science calls it reprogramming. They're all talking about the same law. When you declare, my God in whom I trust, you elevate your vibration. You train your mind to return to certainty. Every time it tries to wander, a fortress is not a building. A fortress is a mental state, a consciousness that cannot be penetrated by fear, doubt, or negativity. Every time you say, God is my fortress, you are shielding your mind, aligning your frequency, and solidifying your inner world. He will deliver you from the snare of the fowler. The snare represents everything that tries to trap you: repetitive worries, draining people, hidden intentions, manipulation, emotional exhaustion, self-destructive thoughts, impulsive decisions. The psalm is saying, I will free you before you fall. This is preventive protection, divine intuition, the ability to sense danger before danger appears. It's that feeling that something is off. It's that sudden pause that saves you. It's that inner whisper that redirects your steps before the trap tightens. That level of guidance only comes when your mind vibrates high and from the deadly pestilence. Pestilence here does not only mean physical illness. In this spiritual code, pestilence represents mental and emotional heaviness, stress that drains your life, anxiety that steals your clarity, fear that consumes your peace, habits that destroy your purpose. God is promising not only to protect your body, but to protect your mind and your spirit. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. This is one of the most beautiful images in all of Scripture. Feathers represent covering, wings represent guidance, speed, and spiritual acceleration. When you walk with God, your processes accelerate. What was slow becomes fluid. What was stuck begins to move. What seemed impossible suddenly becomes possible. And under those wings, you are safe, not because the world is safe, but because your vibration is elevated. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. Truth here does not mean information. Truth is frequency. Truth is the highest vibration in the universe. Lies about who you are, about your future, about your worth, are the lowest vibration. When you align with spiritual truth, I am guided, I am protected, I am loved, I am never alone. You become impenetrable. That is your shield. That is your buckler. Truth, as a vibration, covers you. You will not fear the terror of the night. The terror of the night is anxiety, uncertainty, those thoughts that attack. When the world gets quiet, But listen closely to the promise. It does not say that there will be no night. It says, you will not fear it. The night represents process, silence, waiting, the unknown, everything you don't yet understand. The promise is not that God will eliminate the night, but that he will give you a light inside it, nor the arrow that flies by day. The arrow is the direct attack, criticism, unexpected news, betrayals, sudden changes. And the code says, it will not destroy you. Not that attacks won't exist, but that they cannot break your spirit or interrupt your destiny. 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. This is one of the most powerful and most misunderstood verses in the entire psalm. It does not mean that others will fall while you stand untouched. It means something much deeper. What destroys many will not destroy you, because your frequency is different. While others live in fear, you live in certainty. While others vibrate in anxiety, you vibrate in faith. While others walk alone, you walk covered. It is not a difference of worth, but a difference of consciousness. When you dwell in the shelter of the Most High, you are no longer subject to the chaos that rules the world. You are aligned with a higher law, a higher protection, a higher intelligence. Your spirit is tuned to the frequency of the divine. And what is aligned with God cannot be shaken by the world, for he will command his angels concerning you. Here we enter the realm of the supernatural. Angels are not little winged statues or pretty illustrations. In spiritual language, angels are forces, frequencies, assignments, moments of perfect timing, intuitions that arrive from nowhere, protection you didn't see, opportunities that appear at the exact second, warnings that save you, people who show up out of nowhere with exactly what you needed. When your mind vibrates high, your angels begin to work. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. This is the promise, that you will not fall into the void, that even in your lowest moments, there is a force that refuses to let you break. There will always be support, always guidance, always a way through. God does not only protect, he positions, he exalts, he elevates. When your consciousness rises in faith, your entire life rises with it. With long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Long life does not only mean many years. It means a life of depth, purpose, clarity, peace, and alignment. Salvation means direction, illumination, a path that opens. This psalm is not speaking about fear. It is speaking about inner transformation, spiritual frequency, mental elevation, and divine alignment. It is speaking about the moment your spirit awakens to the truth that you were never unprotected. You were simply unaware of the covering that was always there. Now listen to this. If something inside you is responding to these words, if you feel peace, clarity, a stirring of your spirit, it is no accident. It is guidance. It is confirmation. It is divine timing. Here, at Napoleon Inspires, we've built a community where faith, mindset, and spiritual energy come together to transform lives. And if you're here, this message is also for you. So before we move into the practical steps to activate the power of Psalm 91 in your mind, your home, and your destiny, I want you to do something simple. Breathe slowly, deeply, with intention, because what comes next is the part that turns this revelation into reality. You've reached the turning point, the moment when Psalm 91 stops being a beautiful idea and becomes a living frequency inside your mind, your home, your energy, and your destiny. Because Psalm 91 does not work simply because you read it. It works when you embody it, when you live it, when you breathe it, when you turn its vibration into your mental atmosphere. Now I'll give you the exact steps to activate this spiritual code in your daily life. And if haces esto, ti lo digo desde lo más profundo, tu vida no volverá a ser la misma. White medium star, step 1. Enter the S if you'll raise your mental state. the shelter of the Most High, is not a place. It is a state of consciousness. You enter it when you interrupt fear. Immediately, whenever anxiety rises, whenever worry appears, whenever your mind starts spiraling, stop, breathe, place your hand over your heart, and repeat inside, "My mind dwells in God. Nothing external controls me." This creates an energetic rupture. It shuts off the frequency of fear and activates the vibration of certainty. Daily practice. 3 times a day, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine a golden light surrounding you completely. That light is the shelter. White medium star step 2. Protect the mind. Close spiritual doors. Psalm 91 says, "God is your shadow, your shield, your fortress." But what does that mean? In the modern world, it means you must protect your mind from the openings you create without even realizing it. Negative conversations, toxic comparisons, news that lowers your vibration, social media that fuels anxiety, people who sow fear, voices that drain your confidence. Every mental door you open is an arrow you allow in. Make this rule sacred. If it steals your peace, it steals your protection. If it lowers your vibration, it pulls you out of the shelter. Your mind is a temple. Not everyone enters. White medium star step 3. Faith Ion and Napoleon take inspired minimal action. Faith is not passive. Real faith moves. Every aligned action, no matter how small, sends a message to the universe. I trust, and that activates the process of divine orchestration. The right people, the right opportunities, the right intuition, the right moment. Inspired minimal action. Do one thing today that fear has been delaying. Just one. It doesn't matter how small. That single action is your spiritual ignition key. White medium star step 4. DCLARATIO and activate the code with your voice. This is the most powerful part. Napoleon Hill taught, what you repeat with emotion becomes your reality. The Bible says, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Your voice is your spiritual activation. Every morning declare, I dwell in the shelter of the Most High. I am covered, guided, and protected. Nothing formed against me will prosper. Say it with intention. Say it with soul. Say it with truth. Not as a prayer, not as a poem, but as a decree. Because when you speak, your spirit aligns, your mind organizes, and your vibration elevates. And that, family, is the moment Psalm 91 becomes alive. Close your eyes for a moment. Slow your breathing. Because what comes now is not meant to be heard with the mind. It is meant to be felt with the spirit. Psalm 91 is not an ancient text. It is a key, a spiritual key, that opens an inner realm where life stops feeling heavy and starts feeling guided. Now I want you to imagine something with me, not as fantasy, but as inner truth. The vision, the path of light. Imagine you are walking down a golden path. The world around you is dim, quiet, uncertain, representing every fear, every doubt, every unanswered question you've been carrying. But beside you, on your left and on your right, walk 2 towering columns of living light. They move with you. They protect you. They surround you with a presence that feels stronger than anything you've ever known. These are the angels of verse 11, the ones God assigned to your life, the ones who whisper wisdom into your intuition, the ones who lift you up when your strength is gone, the ones who guide your steps when your mind feels foggy. Feel that light. Let it surround you. Let it reassure you that you have never walked alone. Now imagine above you, not darkness, but a luminous shadow, soft and warm, like a divine canopy, a shadow that protects, a shadow that covers, a shadow that embraces, a shadow that sustains. This is the shadow of the Almighty, not a shadow of fear, but a shadow of refuge, a spiritual dome that follows you everywhere you go. This is what happens when your vibration rises. This is what happens when your faith awakens. This is what happens when your mind enters the shelter. Feel the peace that descends over you. Feel the calm, lifting the weight from your chest. Feel the certainty, replacing the confusion. Because the next words are not poetry. They are a divine declaration, spoken directly over your destiny. The voice, the promise of God. I will rescue him. I will set him on high. I will answer when he calls. I will be with him in trouble. I will strengthen him. I will honor him. I will satisfy him with long life. And I will show him my salvation. These are not metaphors. These are spiritual sentences, vibrations spoken from eternity into your path, your future, your battles, your heart. And today, by listening to this message, by entering this frequency, by letting this revelation settle in your spirit, you have already crossed into a different timeline. You have aligned with divine protection. You have entered the realm of Psalm 91. Now declare with me, not in your mind, but from your soul. I activate Psalm 91 in my life. I dwell in the shelter of the Most High. I walk covered, guided, and protected. Say it with strength. Say it with conviction. Say it with identity. Because when you speak it, all of heaven moves with you. If this message touched your spirit, if something inside you awakened, if your heart felt that pull, that peace, that confirmation, then listen to me carefully. Do not leave this moment the same. What you just heard is not information. It's transformation. It's alignment. It's divine timing. And if you are here, it's because you were meant to walk this path with us. And Napoleon Inspires. We are building something sacred, a community of minds awake, spirits aligned, and destinies rising, a community of people who refuse to live asleep, who refuse to live in fear, who refuse to settle for mediocrity, a community of people who choose faith over doubt, vision over confusion, purpose over distraction, and destiny over excuses. So hear me. Subscribe right now, not for the algorithm, not for the numbers, but because your spirit needs to stay connected to the messages that are shaping the strongest version of you. When you subscribe, you're not joining a channel, you're stepping into your next level. When you like this video, you're not clicking a button, you're declaring, I choose light, I choose growth, I choose protection, I choose destiny. When you share this message, you are literally becoming someone's angel, the instrument God uses to lift another soul out of fear and into faith. So do it right now. Hit subscribe, hit like, share this message with someone who needs divine covering, and write in the comments, I live under the shelter of the Most High. Because every time you declare it, your spirit gets stronger, your mind rises higher, your path becomes clearer. This is Napoleon Inspires. And from this moment forward, you do not walk alone. You do not walk unprotected. You do not walk blind. You walk covered. You walk guided. You walk chosen. And the abundance written for you is no longer a possibility. It is your destiny.